Hey, what's up, guys? Thought I would try something different. So this is the modern factory race car series. I was getting a little tired of the GT spec series and needed to mix it up. I'm jumping ahead to lap 3 in the qualifying because that's my quickest qualifying lap. I did forget to hit record
One to go.
before showing the tune, and this is the only qualifier that's like that. So I decided to pick a car in this series. I've never raced this series before, and I was just going to use the default ForzaTune Pro settings and jump from session to session and see what kind of qualifying times I could set. And I tried to put the videos together in order, but I did mix the first two up. So this is actually the second qualifier, and the next one, which will be at Kyalami, was the first qualifier. I'm just jumping maybe a few laps on mediums, just trying to get a feel for tire wear for the future if I want to do an actual race. And then maybe one or two laps on softs, if any, and jump into qualifying. And the only setting I'm using that's not the default setting from the app is the ride height. So the ride height, I use the min height on the front and rear. That's the default setting for the car. And I find that works best most of the time for this car and for the GT spec series also. So I'm not sure what a good time is, but we do a 150.8 and we do qualify first.
Currently P1 after qualifying.
And of course, when it comes to race, if you don't quit before 30 seconds, then you have to wait, quit in the race, or you can just, kill the game. But here we're at Kyalami, and this is the very first qualifier. So I jumped in a few laps on mediums, and I was trying the braking balance. So the app says 52%, which I find to be the best for this car. But in the first qualifier, I was running it lower than that because in the GT spec series, a lot of times I'll run the brake balance at 49 or 47%, which helps the car turn in when you're trail braking. But in this case, the app is spot on. And I'm not affiliated with ForzaTune in any way. I really like the app, so I've tried several apps. I've tried Quick Tune, and then there's Tune It Yourself, and this. And there are some videos where people say that ForzaTune isn't any good, but that's not been my experience. And I've talked to other people who use it, and they like it as well. But for me, 9 times out of 10, it nails it. And when I was on controller and just kind of getting used to things, when I tried ForzaTune, I would soften this suspension sometimes. But now that I'm on the wheel and just as I get better in general, I tend to use the default settings on the suspension, dampening. When it comes to ride height and brake balance, usually I do make some small changes there. And the only interaction I've ever had with Anthony at ForzaTune is when I discovered that the fuel percentage, when you change fuel percentage, it also changes spring rate. I sent an email through the support channel on the website to ask what fuel percentage I should use when setting the spring rate. And we traded a couple emails. He seemed really nice. And then just from our discussion and a little trial and error, I discovered that when I set the spring rate, I always make sure the fuel is set to 100% fuel, and that seems to work the best for Formula Mazda, GT Spec Series, and so far for this car.
Nicely done. Currently
in
P3
here.
after
So
qualifying.
third, and I actually do participate in this race and have a fail. So I'll show a few fails also along the way. Here, decent launch. I didn't see the guy on my right. Didn't even realize he was quite that close. But I'll show. So I did save the replay, and I'll show it. There was there was two person on my left and right, but there was a third person behind me who happened to just flip my back end a little bit and got me sideways. But yeah, I didn't mean to touch the guy on the right. But then he comes in and bumps me right on the right rear and completely lose it. And this is one of the only times I've ever flipped a car. So. We'll jump ahead. I'm not going to show any races. The goal of this is see what kind of qualifying times I can set in the different tracks, different conditions, using the default settings from the app. And this is Silverstone. It's the only one where I use the rain race settings. So you're going to notice suspension, dampening are softened quite a bit. And I use on the ride height, instead of using the min, I bump it up one notch from the min on both front and the rear to help prevent it from bottoming out. And the brake pressure is 85% also. So everything is identical to what the app says except for the ride height, which is one notch above minimum for both front and back. In my experience with the rain race setting is it works really well in moderate rain. If it's just light rain, I use the normal settings. Even if it's light rain that requires wet tires, I still use the normal settings. But in moderate rain, softening everything up does seem to help get a little more grip. And most of my experience with the rain race settings are in Formula Mazda. In GT Spec Series, I typically don't use rain race just because if there is moderate rain in practice, it almost always goes away by race time. And if everything dries out, the rain race settings will be a little bit slower than the normal settings. And this isn't my best track, so you'll notice I get a little loose here and there, maybe don't quite hit the right turn in points. And hopefully the voiceover is alright. So this is take one off the cuff because it's a longer video. And I wanted to get this out today just because this series only lasts for 2 more days. In case anybody is interested in trying the series, or maybe they tried this car and had some difficulty, you can download the free app and just look. I'll leave chapters in the description so you can jump from track to track, and you can just look at the aero settings I'm using, because I think aero and gearing are only in the paid app. And if you have the money, I think it's a great app. I would recommend getting it. But
Nice work out there.
if you just want to try the free app, the gearing on this series, you can't change the gearing on this car. So the aero is really the only thing that you would benefit from the Pro app. If I'm right, maybe somebody can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But you can just look at what I'm setting it to and then grab everything else from the app itself. And just remember that when you see the spring rate here, it's not going to be the same as in the app, just because my fuel percentage, I'm showing you the fuel percentage I'm using right as I go into qualifying, and it's not 100%. But if you take that fuel percentage up to 100%, then the spring rate will be what's in the app, or as close as I can get to what's in the app. I'm on the Xbox, so I can't. I think on the PC you could enter it perfect, exactly what the app says. But on the Xbox, it goes up in increments of 0.5 or something like that. Here we're at Hockenheim, and I jumped to my 3rd lap because it's my quickest.
1 lap.
and I wouldn't consider myself very good at this track. But the guy who's got the top time now, and then someone else is about to put a really good time up there. I'm not familiar with them. I haven't seen them a lot in the lobbies, but based on their times and how much faster they are than everybody else, they seem really quick. And the fact that I'm able to get to the 135s with them also makes me feel like the tune in this car are really strong for this track. And that's the other thing is, we can't change the gearing, and that can make a big difference, good or bad, on a track. I would say ForzaTune is always great with the suspension and all that. At least that's my experience. But really getting it dialed in. The gearing with the app can be good, like in Formula Mazda and stuff like that. I find it really good, but I consider it a starting point for like the GT Spec series and stuff. And it's good, but you can usually do better by taking what it gives you and fine-tuning it. And this is my first time in this series, this car, first time. Each of these tracks, when I'm in the qualifier, it's the first session I've ever been in on the track with this car. And I haven't, most of my experiences with GT Spec and Formula Mazda, so not used to something this fast. I don't know my braking points. I'm using the braking line, which is, can be hit or miss. It can be hard to be consistent. But I do show a little bit of this race just because I have a feel. One thing I do notice with this car, the tune's really strong, but first and second gear are a little short for my liking, and you can't change the gearing, so just be careful with second gear. I use it, you have to really feather the throttle coming out of the turns, the tighter turns. And here, I keep from getting bumped from behind. I get on a little too early, and as you can see, I make a mistake. So just keep that in mind if you do try this car. Even with the default tune for that car, that will happen. And so it's not really the tune, it's just the car, the gearing. It's got a lot of power. And the default tune for the car was, for me, it just understeered way too much. So I did try it and ran some laps with it before trying ForzaTune Pro. And I always I don't like to edit the video. Sometimes my timing's off and I show the tune and then I have to wait before I actually jump into qualifying. I do that because I'm trying to qualify as late as possible, so that my last lap will be as late as possible because the track will be at its fastest then. And I don't want to edit the video because I'm not that fast. I don't think anybody's suspecting it, but just for completeness, so I am running exactly what I'm showing you. I do not edit out the time between when I show you the tune and when I go into qualifying. I appreciate it when other people do that. So yeah, that's why we're waiting. But I'm getting ready to jump in. So. And my last lap is my fastest lap.
One remaining.
And GT Shrek, been in the same lobby with him plenty of times in the past. He's always extremely fast. He's driving the Porsche. I don't know if it's because that's a really good car for this track or he's just messing around. But regardless of the car, he's always fast. At least it's the first time I've seen him in this series. In any other series I've been in with him, he's always at the top. But here again, we're able to qualify pretty high
Currently
again.
P2 after qualifying.
That's this car, and then in the app, I just whatever track I'm at, I set the track, and then just change any settings that are different for that track, and just make sure you always have the fuel at 100% when you change the springs. But here I am going to show a quick clip of the race. Did start this race and ran a few laps. I can't remember if I ran the whole race or not. But I do make a mistake. Yeah, just showing some mistakes. Hopefully you won't repeat. So you'll learn from my mistakes and do better. So I just wanted to show how lap 1 started. But mistake happens on lap 2 here. And sometimes I start to get dialed in on the softs for qualifying. And here I just missed my braking point, and I just got on the gas too early. I should have let the car, still sliding, and I messed up. So yeah,
Race starts in 5 minutes.
nothing worth, not really worth watching it after that. But I do find that since I'm kind of new to the car and the braking points, like if I run a lot of laps on mediums, then it takes me a minute to adjust to the softs. But that's a little easier transition, just because you can always let up on the brake if you're braking too early or something. But getting used to the softs and going back, it's a little slippery sometimes. And maybe I get on the throttle too early or miss my braking point and slide like I did in the last one. Here we're at Indy. And so my best qualifying lap, I think it was my 2nd lap, but I'm going to go to 3rd because I had the Delta. It would have been my best lap, but I went off track by a pixel. And I have so when I try to, sometimes when you quit the race, maybe you want to test launch too, or maybe you just want to get off launch and hit start, kind of get out to the left or right, get out of the way. On this one, it's getting close to dinner time. I just want to qualify and then quit the race. But I fail at quitting, so I couldn't help but laugh at myself. So I thought I would show it. So here we started out a little slow on this lap, but then we pick up some pace. You can see we've got the Delta that, maybe we still stay 3rd, but we have a chance at getting 1st. But then I just missed that, and so that qualifying lap is over. And I pause, but then I realize I'm too late and I can't quit. And because I was paused, it just automatically drove in the pits. I didn't mean to do that. And I didn't change tires or anything. So here I'm just trying to get off launch, get left, and hit the pause button. And for whatever reason, when I go left, it spins on me. Before I can get the pause, I hit the wall and get hit from behind. And it's just struggling to even quit there. So here we're at BIR, and it's the full circuit, which is the one I prefer. Yeah.
One more.
The braking points are different in this car, but having experience on the full circuit in GT definitely helps here. And if you're looking at the tune, you're interested in that. Notice the aero. This is higher downforce. So in this track, I'm running both the front and the rear are at 3/4. The car feels really good. And maybe I make some adjustments to that if I were really trying to dial this car in. But this is really just about showing you that the default settings, at least in my experience, almost always put you in really good position. I'm fairly competitive with this car. I'm setting some decent times, or at least decent times on the track and in the lobbies that I'm running in. Really like the scenery, the clouds, everything looks really good. You don't notice that when you're racing. When I watch the videos as I'm editing that, pay more attention to that. So here, qualified second. The guy who's in first is extremely fast. And I'm just showing that turned into a moderate rain. So here, this is the last qualifier that I'm going to run. It's at Watkins, Glen. And we have light rain, so it's wet tires for qualifying. But I'm just using the default settings. Like I said, unless it's moderate rain, just stick with the default settings in the app. But if it's moderate rain, then you can try the rain race settings. And we're trying to time it just right. And I'm actually not as familiar with this track at Watkins Glen, so this is the shorter track, not the full. My second qualifying lap is my fastest, so I'm showing this lap. And 10-second car, 8:04. We were trading fastest laps in practice also. He's really quick. He may be doing something similar to what I'm doing, like just jumping in and giving some practice, because he doesn't. He quits before the race starts. And just a note, if you really care about your rating, leaving sessions like with less than 5 minutes to go or quitting the race, like it will hurt your rating. So if you care about that, then yeah, just want to make that known before somebody starts trying to do this to get some practice, because multiplayer everything's faster. Multiplayer is the best place to practice and tune. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.